Hello and good evening, everybody, and I'd like to present to you tonight's episode of Album Rant. And I thought it might be a good idea to return to Welsh prog-rock heavy metal power trio Budgie. And I've reviewed 3 of their albums before, and I kind of was going in chronological order, and I left, well, not in chronological order, but I started with their 3rd album, Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, and then I went to In for the Kill, and then I reviewed Bandolier, and I very easily could have just continued on that path and reviewed If I Were Britannia, I'd Waive the Rules, but instead I decided to switch it up a bit and kind of shift things around a bit, and I decided to skip forward a little bit and go to a different era of the band, and I thought I would review their 8th studio album, their very first one released in the 80s, entitled Power Supply, and that is what you see right there, right in front of you. And in case you're wondering, I have the picture disc edition. There is no sleeve or anything, there's no case or anything. The credits and the artwork are incorporated onto the record, and that is what they do sometimes, so it's a very interesting approach, I guess. But basically, I got this from Best Buy, and actually a pretty cool story behind this. Best Buy just randomly sent me a $10 gift card, so I decided to use it, and this was the album I bought with it, and I'm really glad that I did. But just as I usually do, I'm going to kind of catch you all back up to where we are. And as you probably know, since you're watching this video anyways, you're obviously a fan of these guys. They were a Welsh hard rock, prog rock, heavy metal act. And they began in the late 70s, not the late 70s, the early 70s, with the lineup of Burke, Shelley on lead vocals and bass guitar, Tony Borge on lead guitar, I might be saying that incorrectly, I'm not sure, and then Ray Phillips on the drums. And they released their very first album in the year 1971, just simply entitled Budgie, and it was really awesome. It basically, like I said, incorporated and fused together heavy metal, hard rock, and prog rock, kind of along the lines of Black Sabbath meets Yes, and I thought it was such an amazingly beautiful disaster. I could compare these guys to Rush, but the thing is, these guys came out before Rush, so I'm going to really try not to do that, but the similarities are there also if you really think about it. But their very first album, like I said, came out in 1971, and some of the highlights from that album were Guts, which was the very first song off the very first album. Nude Disintegrating Parachutist Woman was an 8.5-minute prog rock masterpiece, and it was great. The Greatest Hits compilation I have actually gives me the single edit version, so if you have that Greatest Hits, or if you have a Greatest Hits, you might only be getting less than half of the song, actually. We had Rape of the Locks, and then Homicidal, Suicidal, and it was a really great album. So could they follow it up? They absolutely could, because in 1972, with the same lineup, they came out with their second album entitled Squawk. Get it? Because birds squawk. And it still continued the same proggy, heavy, almost bluesy also combination from the previous album. And some of the highlights from that album were Whiskey River, Hot as a Doctor's Armpit, and then Stranded, Stranded. I think I did that correctly, but yeah, as you probably noticed by now, these guys have some very bizarrely long song titles, and it's actually kind of hilarious. So that did not stop them, because in 1973, their 3rd album came out, and I have reviewed this one before. It was a long time ago, years ago, but I'm really glad I did. And something I forgot to mention also, the cover arts for a lot of these albums were really amazing. They had some great cover art back then. I believe Roger Dean, who also did the cover art for a lot of the Yes albums, did the ones for Budgie as well, and it worked out incredibly well. But of course, on Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, we had the mighty Bread Fan, which became very famous when it was covered by Metallica for a single, the Harvester of Sorrow single. And to be honest, that is how I got into Budgie. So I guess, if I'm a new fan, better late than never. And anyways, Bread Fan is considered to be one of their greatest hits ever. we had another cover of Baby Please Don't Go. Although actually, I've said this many times, I have many cover versions of Baby Please Don't Go, even though I haven't actually heard the original version because it's obviously not in my style of music. But yes, there's a Budgie version, there's an AC/DC version, there's a Ted Nugent version, and there is an Aerosmith version. I'm sure there's far more out there, but I think this one actually came first, actually, out of all of those. Yeah, I want to say that. And we also had, what else we had? In the Grip of a Tire Fitter's Hand, and then the very heavy yet bluesy as well, Parents, which you have got to hear if you have not heard that yet. It is a very dark, haunting, 10-plus minute epic that never lets up. And they're able to engage the listener for that long without ever, trying to pad the runtime or anything. It's incredible. So in 1974, they unfortunately had to trade out their drummer. So Ray Phillips was out and Pete Boot was in. And they released their fourth album entitled In For The Kill, which of course had the title track, which was awesome. We had a song called Crash Course in Brain Surgery, which was actually a song they had recorded earlier, back in their very early days, right around the first album. And I guess they just decided to put it on In For The Kill because it was not released on the first album. And I'm glad it's there and everything, but I think that one may have been one of the weaker songs, actually. It wasn't particularly heavy. And that, of course, is the other song that Metallica has covered for their Garage Days Revisited EP. And of course, we had the very long, very progressive, very heavy Zoom Club. Zoom Club is absolutely awesome. And actually, I forgot to mention this earlier. There was a song off Never Turn Your Back on a Friend called You're the Biggest Thing Since Powdered Milk. That song and Zoom Club really remind me a lot of each other in the sense that they're very long, very epic in scope, but they never let up and they engage the listener, at least me for the entire record. Or the entire song, actually. So, anyways, after In For The Kill, Bandolier came next in 1975. And they once again traded out their drummer. So this lineup was Burke Shelley, Tony Borge, and Steve Williams on the drum, who would become their longtime drummer for the majority of the remainder of the existence of the band. And Bandolier was awesome. I have also covered that one along with In For The Kill. We had Breaking All the House Rules, What Do You Want For Your Love, I Can't See My Feelings, which is great, by the way. But then it closes with a very epic in scope Napoleon Bonaparte 1 and 2. There's two parts to it. So we have Napoleon Bonaparte 1 and Napoleon Bonaparte 2. Get it? But yeah, it's got a very galloping rhythm, kind of like Iron Maiden, and it's really great. However, guys, after Bandolier, the band decided to kind of go in a different direction. They really toned down the prog influences, and they kind of more adapted more of a funk sound, which wasn't bad or anything, but I really preferred those first 5 albums. I love the sound from the first 5 albums a lot better. But anyways, If I Were Britannia, I'd Waive the Rules came out in 1976, and it had some great songs like And Again, the title track, If I Were Britannia, I'd Waive the Rules, and of course the mighty closer, Black Velvet Stallion. And they decided to go forward with that approach for their 7th album, Impeccable, which came out in 1978 and had the exact same lineup. And I didn't think I would really like that album the first time I heard it, but I actually really do, kind of. There's not really any weak spots. There's nothing really that stands out to me the way the first 5 albums did, but at the same time, there's nothing that really offends me, and that's the thing about Budgie. They've never actually had a song out there that I just flat out hate. Some I like more than others, but even their weak stuff isn't really that bad. But yeah, there was some kind of weak stuff on Impeccable, but it was still really great. However, after that, Tony Borge, their longtime guitarist, and again, I am so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, I guess he decided that he had to go off in a different direction because he left the band and never returned. And he was replaced with John Thomas. So the lineup now is Burke Shelley, John Thomas, and Steve Williams. And in 1980, they changed their style once again, and they decided to latch on to a song style or a sound that was very reminiscent of the new wave of British heavy metal, which was very popular at the time. You know, artists like Iron Maiden and Def Leppard and Samson and Saxon. And I'm really glad they did, because they released an EP in the year 1980 called If Swallow Do Not Induce Vomiting. And it was great. I mean, I'm guessing they were just looking for an opportunity to get John Williams out front and center before they released an actual album with him on it. But the songs were Wildfire, High School Girls, Panzer Division Destroyed, and Lies of Jim, the E-Type Lover. Yeah, it was a great EP, and maybe I will review it at some point, but instead I am reviewing their 8th actual album, which came out the very same year, entitled Power Supply. And man, that cover, that artwork right there, it just looks like it's making a statement. The artwork on Impeccable I thought was very lackluster. I mean, it was a cat, I guess chasing a bird, I guess, because, you know, Budgie. I was not really digging that cover art, but man, I am really digging this here. Is it ridiculous? Yeah, but is it awesome? You bet it is. So, on the back, I believe there is a track list. Yes, there is. And we have some credits down here. All songs composed by Shelley and Thomas, except Hellbender by Shelley, Williams, and Thomas. So yeah, I mean, the songwriting is probably also going to be a little bit different than what came before it, because John Thomas is now playing a very crucial role in the songwriting, so of course the style may be a little bit different. But it all starts with track number 1, Four-Arm Smash, which is a very fast and very, very slick opener. And you'll probably notice right from the beginning, the sound, again, they are not doing the whole funky blues thing anymore. No. This is a very slick, hard-edged, heavy metal sound. And I thought the production was really great, and the guitar work was really great also. It really was. Burke Shelley's vocals may not quite be as strong as they were back in the 70s, but they're still very powerful. So again, the differences in the sound are very apparent right out of the gate. But like I said, a very powerful and heavy opener. I'm going to say this quite a lot, guys. There are some great guitar solos on this album. They are heavy, they are electric, and they really, really grip me, okay? But yes, this is really more of a traditional hard rock heavy metal song. The prog influences from the early days are really kind of gone by this point. That's fine, because I do like the new wave of British heavy metal. And again, these guys didn't quite make the new wave of British heavy metal. They definitely predate it, but the sound that they were going for on this album is definitely very similar, I will say that. But yeah, I mean, they jam out quite a lot in the middle, okay? There's a very great guitar solo, and the band is just firing on all cylinders. It's really great. And it goes on for like 2 minutes or so. But yes, we have Better Move Out, You Better Move Over. I'm a heavyweight killer, a feather light mover. It's an uptight hold when my arm's around you. I'm doing my duty, I'm gonna get you. But it's a clean break, mean fight. Take my hand, you don't do anything right. Well, I got you with my lifeboat. Take you by surprise. Get you with a smash. Great opener, I really like it. But then, guys, we come to the second song called Hellbender. And this is the one song that Steve Williams has a songwriting credit on it. It's only about 3.5 minutes or so, but man, does this song really leave its mark. Again, this one I would not really call a straightforward rocker like Four-Arm Smash. This one is definitely a little bit more diverse in its style, and it's definitely trying to deviate from the format a little bit, which I really love, because this is definitely the craziest song on this album. And that's really what I love about it. It starts off with a very crunching guitar riff, and the rhythm almost has a staccato on it, believe it or not. And I may be the only person saying this, but when I was listening to this just recently, I was like, man, this song really reminds me of something. And I think what it reminds me the most of is a song called It All Depends by the Scorpions. And this song did come out after It All Depends by the Scorpions. But again, that kind of groovy rhythm really reminds me of It All Depends. Sorry, I kind of Got a little tongue-tied there. But yes, it's got a very groovy but heavy and catchy rhythm and kind of bluesy as well. But what I really like about it is after every verse, it just slows down a little bit and it delivers a very powerful and heavy beat. It's like dun, 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 and it really just makes you feel it. Lots of heavy guitar solos in between each segment. John Thomas, he was a great guitarist. It's a shame he was not more widely recognized. We have Hellbender, what journey are we on? Hellbender, we journey on and on. Look at the man making a fast buck, filling his pockets and bringing us bad luck. Breaking the rock is something we all do. Keep it on ice, magical voodoo you. Oh, I love that. So yes, guys, Hellbender, very underrated track. I would definitely suggest checking it out if you have not already, because I realize this album is very much not from the band's most widely recognized era. So Heavy Revolution comes next. It's about 4.5 minutes or so, and this one is really more of a straightforward rocker, very similar to Four-Arm Smash, and it's really good for what it is. It doesn't quite leave the mark on me that Hellbender did, but I'll still definitely take it. But again, it doesn't quite have that punch, but it's quite a ride nonetheless, okay? It also has more of a, maybe not more of, but it definitely has a bluesy rhythm behind it, which I do kind of have to appreciate. I mean, even though these guys were definitely going heavy metal, they still maintain some blues influences, and really that combination could fall flat on its stupid face, but it really doesn't here. So track number 4 is called Gunslinger, and it begins with an acoustic segment, like it's really setting the stage. It has a very Western-like feel to it, which I am guessing is what they were going for, considering the song is called Gunslinger. Kind of like Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi? Maybe? I don't know. Kind of reminded me of that, but again, I might be the only person saying that. Make no mistake, though, this song is a lot better than Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi. I do not like that song at all, but I don't want to get off topic here. But yes, it's got that very Western-like acoustic intro, and about maybe 1.5 minutes in, it does start to get a little bit heavy, but still maintains the slow, bluesy, Western-like atmosphere. But then a little bit past the 2-minute mark, it fades out just a little bit before it fades right back in with a pretty dark bass beat, and then the song just really starts to explode. It really comes out of its shell, and it really starts to pick up and pick up and pick up. There is a really great guitar solo in the middle, and it just jams and rocks out all the way to the end. The second half of this song is really, really incredible, and I definitely like the second half of the song better than the first half of the song, because again, I am really more into heavy metal than the blues, but the combination together can work in some instances, and it does here. So yeah, side 1 is pretty strong. It really is, okay? We have 2 very traditional hard rock heavy metal songs, and we have 2 that kind of deviate from the format. And in this case, I think deviating from the format worked out pretty well, because Hellbender is my favorite song from side A. I'm going to stand by that. That is a song that's really gripped me ever since I heard this album, and it's such a shame it has kind of fallen through the cracks, but yeah, check it out. So I'm going to kind of shift over here a bit and talk about side B, or side 2, whatever. And the first song is Power Supply, the title track. And kind of like Four-Arm Smash and Heavy Revolution, it's again more of a straightforward traditional heavy metal song, which is great and everything. It's very fast and very slick, which I really do appreciate, because like I said, the sound on this album is much different than what came before it. But yeah, don't want to leave my electric house. My lover got electric bills. I won't die in an electric chair. My power is everywhere. Power supply. Yep, I think I did that correctly. But yeah, the chorus may not be all that great, but it's serviceable. I mean, it's doable and everything. So yeah, Power Supply, like I said, is really kind of conforming more to the format, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a great song, and I do also recommend that one. Then we have Secrets in My Head, and wow. This song begins with a very heavy and crunching guitar beat, much like a lot of the other songs in this album do. But yeah, I mean, Shelley comes swinging right out of the gate at the very beginning, like, secrets in my head. And much like Hellbender, it has these moments, just moments, where it slows down for a little bit, but gets very slow, very powerful, and very, very heavy, and then it starts right back up again. And there's another very heavy guitar solo in the middle, and it finishes out, as previously mentioned, a traditional heavy metal song. It conforms to the format, the verse, chorus, guitar solo, verse, chorus, and I think it does pretty well. And yeah, so the third song off side B is Time to Remember. I did that my best. This is one of the other well-known songs from the album. At least on the greatest hits that I got, Forearm Smash and Time to Remember were the songs that ended up on that greatest hits album. And it's really more of a haunting ballad, which is a nice change of pace and everything. I really do think it's a nice change of pace. This may not quite have worked out as well as I would have hoped it would, but Budgie's actually been doing this for a while. Even though on those initial albums, they would just randomly have a very dark and very soft yet moody and atmospheric ballad, and they seem to be continuing that approach on Power Supply in the 80s. And I just don't think this one really hits the mark the way the others did. Doesn't mean it's bad, still a good song, but it may be weaker than some of the other stuff that I am talking about, okay? But anyways, having said that, I'm not the biggest fan of this song, but it has segments where it's very soft and melodic, but then it has other segments where the band really starts to come in, and it picks up a little bit, but it never fully gets fast. It still maintains the very slow and very blues-like rhythm. It's interesting, okay? But yes, the chorus where the band really comes in and starts to get a little bit heavy, but still it is slow. It has another solo in the middle, and it's great. But the style is a little bit different. It's more bluesy and melodic, which I admit the solo does accompany the rhythm section quite well, and it is still a good solo. But the song itself, I'm probably going to say, is the weakest one from this album, okay? It took a risk. I love taking risks. Some pay off, some less than others. So the last song on the album is Crime Against the World. And this is, again, another traditional hard rock song. Begins with another very crunchingly heavy guitar riff, and it just comes swinging right out of the gate. And it becomes kind of more of a mid-tempo rocker, but still the blues rhythm is supporting it. It's definitely one of the more upbeat songs on the album. I do like this one, okay? I do like Crime Against the World. John Thomas is, again, completely on point on this one because he has another very well-written heavy guitar solo embedded within it. And what I kind of like about it is the guitar solo really goes along with the main rhythm, it seems. It has the same rhythm and the same beat as the rest of the song, which I think, does pretty well, at least in this circumstance. But get up, get out of bed, I'll wrap my fist right around your head. Shut up, sit down, sit tight, interrogate you roaming in the night. Crime against the world, crime against the world. I am against the world, crime against the world. So what is my favorite from side B? I think side B is a little bit weaker than side A, but I'd have to say Crime Against the World is probably my favorite from side B, but Hellbender is my favorite from side A. I'm gonna go ahead and say I think Hellbender is my favorite from the entire album. So let's flip this right back around. I absolutely do recommend this album. This is an era of the band that has really fallen through the cracks, and maybe the albums were not as powerful or well known as those initial 5 albums, which were amazing, by the way. But I really think you do need to check this out because it's a change of pace for the band, and I think they did very well here. I read a review for that initial Greatest Hits anthology I bought, and of course, the stuff from If I Were Britannia, I Waive the Rules to The Present was on the second disc. And someone said the second disc, which had stuff from this album on it, was just terrible, and it really isn't, okay? It's got a great sound, great songwriting, and man, it is heavy. So Power Supply, I do give my endorsement to. So anyways, thank you all very much for joining me tonight. Next week's episode is really gonna rock hard, but until then, have a very pleasant evening.